Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, the voice of reason, Dave Dunaway. It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and you're listening to The Sports Voice. Well, if you're watching me on TV, you probably think I'm all dressed up because it's my anniversary show, but unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. And as we've learned through the years, we cannot celebrate that day until it comes, because you never know when I could be removed from the air. If you listen to me for any length of time, you probably can't figure out why I'm still on the air anyways. But not a day that we celebrate until it comes. But I figured since I could lead in with that, I might as well tell you that day is coming very quickly. In 2 weeks, we will be having the anniversary of the Sports Voice year 17. Yes, so I don't know what it takes for Nick to bring me cake and balloons, but maybe it's year 17. Certainly hasn't happened yet, so we'll see if we can make something happen. More to come on the Sports Voice anniversary next week. When we look at what's going on around the world of sports, as always, quite a bit, especially revolving around your Pittsburgh Steelers. It's getting closer to them deciding who the next head coach will be because other teams have started hiring coaches. As I told you, Pittsburgh will probably be last because they're the most undesirable job out there unless they pick somebody that no one else is looking at. And that's probably what they're going to do. I'll tell you who. I'll bet deep down you already know who, but I'll tell you who and I'll tell you why here in just a little bit. With that being said, a lot of action happening around the National Football League as far as coaching moves, but more importantly, as far as football games. I know a lot of times we forget that football still goes on after the Steelers lose, but you should be used to it by now because even if they do get lucky enough to make the playoffs, they normally don't get beyond that first round, and the real football starts after that. We have the AFC and NFC championship games coming up this weekend. Maybe a little bit of a surprise, maybe in both, depending on what you would have thought at the beginning of the season. But all four of these teams do have something ironic in common. I'll tell you what that is when we cover it as well. We have a new national champion in college football. Nick is smiling over there because they didn't cover the spread, so he ended up getting the win in our pick'em of the week. But Indiana is a national champion for the first time. Congratulations to head coach Curt Cignetti. Of course, we like him because he's from an area close to our house, and we like the local guys. Everyone in Pittsburgh likes the local guys. We look at Mendoza, who we know is going to be the first pick in the draft this upcoming year, or at least we assume that at this point by the Las Vegas Raiders. It almost needs to be him as the first pick. And of course, a school that has retooled itself and looks like the perennial frontrunner for the 2026 national championship already. So we'll tell you about what happened in that game. Great effort by Miami, who I don't think anyone predicted was going to get that far, especially when they didn't even win a conference that was not allowed to have their champion in these playoffs. So an interesting turn of events there. But yet again, what's right and wrong with NCAA football all in one game at the end. The Pittsburgh Penguins in action tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. It's Crosby versus McDavid again. Big win for the Penguins last night against Calgary. A good game for Stuart Skinner and a good game for the Penguins defense without Letang and Carlson. They actually played defense last night, and that was the reason they were able to get a 4-1 victory over Calgary. The Penguins, are they a playoff team or are they not a playoff team? We'll talk a little bit about that because they need to figure it out. I know a lot of excitement building around the area that they 100% are a playoff team. But what happens if they just miss out? What happens if they end up in the middle, just like the Steelers, and they're in a position where they cannot draft a star, but also don't have the revenue from a round of the playoffs to show for anything they did this year. And it also could potentially be the last year that the big three, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, are together on the same ice in the same uniforms. Major League Baseball, a lot of moves being made. None by the Pirates. I haven't even heard of any almost moves that were made by the Pirates lately. Of course, we know Kyle Tucker is a Dodger. We know that the Mets are out there making move after move after move. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening there. The National League getting stronger. But hey, the Pirates brought in Josh Lau or Brandon Lau or one of the Laus, and they brought in Rob Deere or Dave Kingman or Ryan O'Hearn, one of those three. So we know they're going to be a whole lot better. And hey, by July, we might even see Connor Griffin up on the roster. But this is a team trying to win. Remember, they will keep telling you that time and time again. And of course, now that we are toward the end of January, this marks the official return of Nick Barczyk's NBA/WNBA roundup. So we'll make sure we save a few minutes at the end of the show so that we can make sure that we get that in to address all of the questions I'm sure all of you have. Nick's ready to talk, everybody.
I think seconds are more than efficient for this, more than effective.
I don't know. I know you spend a lot of time prepping for this. It's evident every week when you do it.
That's
so
right.
I want to make sure I give you your due and give you your time.
Very soon, the Olympic update.
Ooh, that's coming up. That's what, a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
There's like normally there's a Pitt bowl game. Have they played their bowl game yet?
I think so.
And then the Olympics roll around.
And shocker, they lost that game. So what a shock.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
Would have never guessed. Yeah.
Coach Narduzzi.
Yes. But a lot happening. The PGA Tour is kicking off. They had their first nonsense of the season. Actually, it turned into a legit tournament as time went on. They played in Hawaii last week, and after the 62s and 63s on day one, the scores actually came back down to earth, and we got to see real golf. The American Express is happening this week, and of course, Brooks Koepka back on the PGA Tour, leaving LIV, but the NCAA champion chose LIV. So we'll maybe, if we have some time, look at a little golf maybe right before the NBA/WNBA roundup. In the National Football League, a lot happening. We've got playoff games, we've got coaching carousels, but of course, here in this area, all we care about is the Pittsburgh Steelers and who their next head coach will be. Turn on any other sports talk show in the area, and they're talking about it ad nauseum. I'm going to get it over with early just so I don't have to come back to it. I'm more excited about the AFC Championship and the fact that the New England Patriots are in that game. But I will humor everyone around and talk Steelers here for just a little bit so that hopefully you can process what's going on in the world of NFL coaching hires. Let me be realistic here for a second. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Of all of the jobs that are out there, I forget how many are actually left at this point. Of course, one more opened up over the weekend. That would be the Buffalo Bills head coaching job after their exit, maybe impromptu exit in the divisional round. Head coach Sean McDermott fired by Buffalo. Yet another job that is more enticing than the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers' job is the least desirable of any of the jobs that are out there. Once again, just to rehash, no quarterback, no semblance of a running game, no line of 6 people that can block anyone. Sometimes 7 and 8 people can't block anybody. No receivers. I won't even say they have one. They might have a half and then a bunch of 5s and 6s. Tight ends that are shambles. An overpaid defense that is average at best. This is the least desirable job out there. So when you see guys like Salah, when you see these names that are taking jobs elsewhere, don't be upset. They're taking a better job. That's why they're signing their name on it. Kevin Stefanski, they're taking better jobs, better opportunities than what the Steelers could possibly present. And I think right now, when you take a look at this search, the biggest hindrance of all is the clown owner, because he still thinks this is a playoff team. He doesn't want to settle for a 4-13 season, regardless of what it might bring. And that brings me to the 4 teams that are left in the postseason at this point. Whether it's Seattle, the Rams, New England, or Denver, all you have to do is look back into not that distant of a past, and you will see a really bad season that allowed the team to get better. Some, it allowed them to get a quarterback, like Bo Nix, or better yet, Drake May. For others, it allowed them to totally retool their team and bring in help like Jackson Smith and Jigba, or Puka Nakua. Those are some of the best players right now in the NFL, and they're on the teams that are still around, ironically, because those teams took a step back, maybe just for a year, maybe for a couple of years, and put themselves into a position to rebuild. Now, as we know, the clown has said numerous times, that's not a word he likes to say. So that tells you right then and there, this is not a team poised to go into the right direction. This is a team poised to stay right where it is, because he's fine with that. How many times do we hear him and his clown in training son talk about the NFL mean and how happy they are each year because they're above it? We're not talking about meaningful football games, and I know a lot of you think these games are meaningful, like that last game of the season when they played Baltimore and won the AFC North. But in the end, where did that get them? Do you think that was better than these 4 teams that are left? Do you think these 4 teams and their fans are having a good time right now? Do you think their fan base thinks this is a meaningful game coming up this weekend, or would they have been happy just winning their division? By the way, one of the worst in football, on the very last day of the regular season after they were anointed in week 6 as being the default champion. In the end, the ownership of this team is happy with where they are. And honestly, if you want to know, you can look at these guys that are coming in. They had Shielman in. They're going to talk about how much they love him. Oh, he's the passing game coordinator for the Rams. We love him. There's no such thing as a passing game coordinator for the Rams. It's Sean McVay calling the plays and Matthew Stafford making adjustments if he needs to. That's the passing game of the Rams. It's not this guy, this whatever he is, that's sort of put in place to make it look like he's actually doing something. You can be thrilled all you want with him, but that's not who the Steelers are going to bring in, because Kevin Shielman isn't going to keep them at 9-8, but Mike McCarthy might. That's the only thing out there. It's the only option. It's the only choice. If you think they're going to bring in anybody else besides Mike McCarthy, you're fooling yourself. It checks all the boxes. Number one, he's local. We know how much they love the local guys, and we know McCarthy's a Steeler fan because for years the Steelers were the team closest to his house or to his toll booth, whatever you want to put him and place him on that situation. He checks that box. Number two, Aaron Rodgers might come back because there's a real good chance McCarthy will let him call plays. A new young coach isn't going to let Aaron Rodgers call plays. They're going to have their own philosophy. They're going to have their own system that they're hoping is going to get them to whatever the next level might be. But if McCarthy comes in and potentially acts as offensive coordinator as well, there's a real good chance Rodgers is going to get to do what he wants, which means there's a real good chance that he's going to come back. So all that hope you have for Will Howard or some draft pick that results in the quarterback of the future this year, you can throw that out the window because it's not happening. And then you look at his records in Dallas, a couple years he won 12 games. I mean, that checks all the boxes because that's above the NFL mean. And that's where we want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. Plus, he's a veteran. He has experience. He's won in the league. He's won a Super Bowl. I mean, you start going through, this is everything that the Steelers could possibly hope for. If you looked right now at the clown owner, Mr. Rooney, if he's listening to me, he's probably salivating wherever he is, thinking about all the potential that he could have to be above the NFL mean with Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers next year. So for those of you hoping that the end of Tomlin meant that this is going to be the rebuild, that they're going to be the New England Patriots maybe next year, or Denver, or one of these teams that are there fighting to make it to the Super Bowl, it just isn't going to happen. Because in the end, I don't think ownership cares about a Super Bowl. They care about meaningful games that fans will go to, wear their shirts and wave their towels. The last game of the season, you've got a sold-out Acrisure Stadium because you're playing for a division that you should have won 12 weeks before. That's what they want. That's what they care about. And if you lose in the first round, who cares? Because you played in front of a sold-out crowd there too, at home, because you won the division and you got that automatic home game into that first round. Who cares if they lose? They don't care. Think of the money that was raked in. Look at the fans who were there. Yeah, they were angry and throwing stuff, but the guy they were angry with, you got rid of, or he left on his own, whatever you want to believe there. So now you bring in a new guy who will instantly be loved by the fan base because it's someone different, especially if it's McCarthy because he's local. And, we love the local guys here. So I think in the end for the Steelers, it's a win-win. They'll bring all these young guys in. They'll parade them in. They'll make you think that they're legitimately giving them a shot at getting this head coaching job. If they're lucky, a bunch of them will take jobs elsewhere before they make their final decision. But in the end, the Steelers will take the guy nobody else is looking at. They'll take Mike McCarthy because in the end, they think it'll bring back Aaron Rodgers and it'll get the Steelers to 9-8 yet again.
Well, Dave, in a way, yes, I agree with everything you say, but in a way, it's completely different than what they've always done because the last three, which is pretty much the only coaches they've hired in anyone's life that's listening, have been young, up-and-coming defensive coaches, and Mike McCarthy is the polar opposite. So I'll give them a little credit that they're going in a different direction than Noel Cowher and Tomlin, even though all of them, especially Noel, were very, very successful. But I don't think it's the right move because you want to move forward as an organization, and I thought they wanted to get younger, and Mike McCarthy's not that. He's 10 years older than the coach that just left, and it's just not – it just would feel like more of the same. Even if Rodgers doesn't come back, if you bring McCarthy in, it's a proven coach. It's a safe bet. And you look at Chris Shula, you look at the way his defense performed the other night. I'm not opposed to defense. I would prefer offense. So it sounds like I'm contradicting myself because McCarthy's offensive, but I just thought they would go with someone younger who has a longer runway. If you bring in McCarthy, he's already in his 60s. How much longer does he want to coach? So, yeah, I mean, what they desperately need is a 3-4 win season. That's what New England had. I mean, it's bad in the moment. It hurts in the moment, and it's going to be uncomfortable to explain to the fans in a moment. But the payout, I think, would be so much better. If you bring in McCarthy, you're just eking out another 8-9 win season, but there's no progress there, I don't think. Yes, he's won a Super Bowl, but he was 15 years younger. That team was better. Rodgers was 15 years younger and fresher. I would completely strip it down and start over, and that's not what they're going to do if they bring in McCarthy, which I think they will now.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you. It is different because they're going offense instead of defense. But where
he's older and everyone knows who he is.
Right. Where something appears different, it's still the same because the philosophy is going to be the same, as you said.
Right.
That they hope will bring Rodgers back. And if they can eke out another playoff berth, even if they lose, they still get in there. If they make it exciting down the stretch, they won the division, so they're going to have to play good teams next year. We know that when the schedule comes out. Yep. So it'll be, I'm sure, a roller coaster ride, just like it is every year. But I think the fan base is to a point where they had hoped the removal, the leaving, the Mike Tomlin walking away. I don't know what actually happened there. Whatever. Mike Tomlin leaving this team was going to produce change.
Yeah.
And it's not going to. They're just going to bring in another face to do the same stuff. They might look a little different. The offense might be a little more productive, but you can't continue to bring back these same people and think somehow, some way it's going to change. They have 13 draft picks this year, and guaranteed they won't use them all. They'll be packaging and trading, and don't be surprised if they don't trade up to do some nonsense pick like Ty Simpson because they think that's the quarterback of the future. Ty Simpson's no different from Kenny Pickett. It's the same guy. If you are hoping to find that quarterback, you're not going to find it this year. Hope to go 4-13 or 3-14 and get him next year, because if you're that bad, then you have potential to draft Arch Manning or Dante Moore, which is probably the best option right now. I mean, who knows? They could come out for their, what's this for Moore's 16th, 17th year in college football. I mean, they could come out and be really bad next year, but in the end, it could be a better option than what you're going to get now. You bring Rodgers back, which means you don't develop anybody that's currently there. Will Howard, I guess, is gone at that point, because in 2 years, if you don't do something with him, if you don't at least get him some action, I don't understand why he would still be around beyond that point. I don't think there's anything there myself, but I know there are a lot of people who do. So I think you don't progress. You don't move forward. If Rodgers is back, the young receivers aren't going to do anything. He had Roman Wilson benched. He had Caleb Johnson, the running back, benched. Those are third and second round picks. And he would have had Calvin Austin benched if they had more receivers. Rodgers. If any more of his buddies were out there on the scrap heap that he could have picked up, he would have benched him too, because the guys, for whatever reason, when you change a play at the line, they don't understand what to do. And that's, I think, a product of poor coaching for all the years they've been with Pittsburgh, because it's always been cut and dry. This is the play that'll be called in by the sidelines. This is what we're going to execute, whether it works or not. When Rodgers was given the power to change things, he would try to change it at the line, and nobody knew where to go. They went where they were initially supposed to be, and then you would see him in a fit of rage with them over on the sidelines. So it's got to be a new philosophy. It's got to be something a little more modern. Rodgers isn't going to do modern. He left New Green Bay when they wanted to become modern. When the Jets tried to do something modern, he got the coach fired. Rodgers wants to do it his way, the way he's always done it. And there are times where that can work. But when you look at his track record in the playoffs, he won one Super Bowl, a Super Bowl that was fumbled to him by Rashard Mendenhall. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot to show. I know he's got a ton of records. You look at him, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but the Steelers are loaded with guys that they think fit into that category. The reality is they're not winning. They haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. Look at the record, 9 years, whatever it is at this point. I mean, it's just not showing itself in the postseason. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy is the guy that's going to transform that around. I don't think you can anticipate that for next year. I think Rooney wants them in the playoffs next year in the same position they were in this year. That's not realistic to producing change on this team. All that does is keep them in the middle, keep them out of position to draft that franchise. And whether they want to believe it or not, the quarterback is the most important position on that football field in today's NFL. And they are the furthest from any team in the league to having a dominant one, to having a franchise one, to having someone that can go out there and put up more points than the other team. The days are done relying on the defense to give up 10 points and a couple of field goals, because as you see, usually in the postseason, it's an annihilation, not a heartbreak when it's all said and done. They need a quarterback, and what they're doing and what you know they're going to do with this coaching search is not going to put them into any better position than where they are right now next year, and it'll move them back even further against the grain, trying to become competitive, legit competitive in today's NFL.
And I get where they're coming from, I guess, because I'm sure they're hearing everyone say, well, you got to go offense. You got to go offense. And then they're like, okay, we're going to bring in McCarthy. And yes, he is an offensive-minded guy. And yes, he's been around and an established winner. Maybe they are trying to change things because they figure, all right, everyone's saying change, so we're going to go older and well-known and offensive outside of what we usually do, which is defense, young and unknown. But this just doesn't feel like the right move. If you're going to go offense, get one of the Kubiaks, get one of these brilliant offensive coordinators, a Sean McVay type that's really brilliant with schemes and has a great presence and is younger. I mean, McCarthy, it's been played out. I think he's a good football coach, but the guy that just left was a good football coach. I think you won great eventually, right? And yeah, it's really hard to win in the playoffs. It is. And the Steelers are desperate to win that one game. They think McCarthy gives them a shot to win that wild card game. They don't want to tear down and win 3-4 games and get a Super Bowl in a few years. No, even though it keeps working for New England and other teams. But look at Buffalo. They have Josh Allen. They still can't get past the second round. That's why Sean McDermott's now out of a job. So I'm not saying it's easy to win multiple playoff games, but I think they're so desperate to win one, they may run it back with McCarthy and Rodgers, which I think is the absolute wrong thing to do next year.
And honestly, if you ask me, will the offense be better? Yeah, it will. But you're not building on anything. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with it, even if it is better. You're probably not going to win a playoff game, or if you do, you're only going to win one. It will be better. But Aaron Rodgers is not the future of this team. DK Metcalf is not the future of this team. You've got to develop young talent that's going to be around for a little while, when hopefully you can be in position to bring in your quarterback of the future. But you can't keep talking about the quarterback of the future with 40-year-olds at that position, because you're not doing anything any differently than what you're doing right now. Yeah, you might have a different face at coach with a little bit of a different philosophy, and instead of the offense scoring 16, 17 points a game, maybe they'll score 20, 21. But in the end, it's not going to make your team any closer to where you want to be. I will say this about Rooney. He's a clown, but in his mind, he sees a team winning championships. Yeah. But he doesn't know how to build that team. He doesn't know what to do to put it together. He thinks that he can recycle these guys like Rodgers and like McCarthy, and magically it's just going to happen because you're going to take those years of expertise, you put them back together from the Green Bay days. You've got a big physical receiver in DK Metcalf. You got your 3 tight ends. You'll draft a receiver maybe in the first or second round. And, in his mind, he sees a team that's very close to winning a Super Bowl. But in reality, this team is far away and the rest of the league knows it and they know how to play it. Maybe it won't be as predictable as Tomlin, where you knew exactly what was going to be called every single time and you could position yourself for it, and he never adjusted. I think McCarthy will adjust. I don't know if he has the personnel to adjust the way he would like, but I think you'll see some differences in coaching style. But I think in the end, you still have players that just aren't capable of winning a Super Bowl. And you need to, at some point, take a step back if you're the owner of this team, and you need to say, okay, what do we have to do to get into position to do this? I don't think Bob Kraft wanted to go 4-13 2 years in a row, but I think he's happy right now that he's playing for an AFC championship and potentially another berth into the Super Bowl.
They have lapped the Steelers organization.
Oh,
it's a complete
look at the Bears.
Embarrassment.
I mean, I know the Bears lost, but look at where they were. You talk about teams ahead of schedule. Denver's ahead of schedule, but look where they are. One of those, either Denver or New England, is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. They did what they had to do. They tore it down. Not totally, maybe for a year or two, and then they were right back on their feet. The NFL is perfect for that because you can legitimately rebuild yourself within a year and put yourself into position to win. But the Steelers will not take that year. The Steelers, I don't know if it's their pride or just their stupidity, but they will not take that year to just try to retool themselves and get themselves into a better position. Instead, they'll throw exorbitant amounts of money to washed up defensive players and keep that going, thinking that, well, the fans, Watt and Hayward, these guys have been around forever. Yeah, and they've won nothing. What's the point of keeping them if not only have they won nothing in their career, but you've done nothing so far to make it even appear that you're trying to make this team better? You think you can keep it the same and magically it's going to get better. The NFL just doesn't work that way because there's too much talent in the NFL. And unfortunately, the Steelers are on the wrong end of that talent, of all of that, because they just don't have enough of it. They don't have what they need. They won't put themselves in position to get it. Free agency doesn't help you much in the NFL. You need to go out and draft and develop. And Mike Tomlin was terrible at both. McCarthy, I think, will be a little bit better. But if you don't start to integrate young players, all you're doing is setting yourself back further until that time comes, and you'll live in mediocrity until it occurs. And that's where they are right now. And I don't see anything. Maybe they surprise me and they hire a different coach, but if it is McCarthy, and I have a real strong feeling it's going to be, I don't see a whole lot happening different outside. Maybe we'll see an offense out there that's actually watchable. Outside of that, I don't see the record being much different, and I don't see the end of the year being much different.
No. And they're penalizing Chris Shula, I think, and some of these other coaches for their success. They don't want to wait a few weeks for when Shula's team's out of the playoffs to bring him in. That's the Steeler philosophy, Dave. They won't take a little bit of discomfort, which is waiting a few weeks for Shula or one of these other young coaches.
But they waited 3 months for Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. That's the thing. They won't wait for him, and they won't go through the pain, the temporary pain, which leads to great relief, winning 3-4 games, and then most likely having a real winning season, a series of them. Real winning seasons, not just 8-9 wins, winning divisional round and AFC championship games and maybe even Super Bowls. They won't take the temporary pain. They want to just focus on the next game, move on to the next one. McCarthy will bring him in. He's safe. People know who he is. But again, I give him credit for bucking the trend if they go McCarthy. It's different than what they used to do. It's not a young, unknown defensive guy, but I don't think it's the right hire just because it's different than what they used to do, if that makes sense.
And the same thing will happen this year. They'll tell McCarthy, hey, call Aaron, get him back. And Aaron, I don't know, let me think about it. Draft will come. They won't draft anybody because they think he's coming, and it'll be the very end, right when it's time for training camp. Okay, I'll come back. Once he gets out of the darkness in Egypt,
Well, Dave,
he'll come back.
They have the next Aaron Rodgers. Will had.
Yeah, I can't wait. I just want him out there.
Well, they should
so
start him.
everyone can see how bad he is.
They should start him. That would win you 3-4 games and get you a top 3 pick next year and maybe get Arch or Sellers.
Well, they'll probably trade all their draft picks if they're that bad to make sure they bring in a Minka type character so they can go to 500 like they've done before.
You mentioned, I mean, nice man, but maybe not the brightest bulb.
Clown.
Does he think because the draft's in Pittsburgh, they're picking 1 overall? Does he think they're getting Mendoza? Is he confused? Because if you bring McCarthy in and bring Rodgers back, you have no quarterback for the future. Does he think they're getting Mendoza because the draft's in Pittsburgh?
Well, they can't draft a quarterback if they bring Rodgers back. He'll have a conniption if they even attempt it because he's the guy.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear. That's the thing with Rodgers. When Rodgers struggles, he don't want to hear the fans yelling the name of the backup. So you're not going to bring in a legitimate backup. You'll have Rudolph still here, and you'll have Howard still here.
As much as we love Ben threw a major hissy fit when they drafted Rudolph, which was crazy.
Well, I would too, because if you're drafting a guy to replace Ben and that's the guy you draft, I'd be upset too.
Well, they had to draft somebody.
Maybe if they'd have drafted Josh Allen.
And look what's happened since Ben was out of his prime. Just nonsense. Pickett, Trubisky, old Russ, bad Fields.
Duck Hodges.
Bad quarterbacks and old guys. They had no plan. Oh, throw Russ out there, throw Aaron out there, and they still didn't win a playoff game.
Yeah, I do not foresee this ending well for Steeler fans who are hoping for change, for something younger, for a tear down, for a 4-13 season. And I know, I mean, if you're a fan, it's hard to sit there and say, oh, I hope my team goes 4-13.
It is.
But you got to look at the big picture. The big picture is if you do that with a projected strong quarterback class, that could put you into position to be the next New England or Chicago or Denver or, insert whoever was able to draft a quarterback. Look at Jacksonville. It took a young, innovative coach as well to be put into that position, but look at how they transformed themselves and turned their season around. It can be done. You just have to do it right, and the Steelers have done it wrong for so many years. They've got a huge uphill battle to fight to get to where they want to be. But bringing in Aaron Rodgers again and McCarthy, all you're doing is delaying it even longer and making it even more difficult. Can't wait to see what they do with these 13 picks in the draft. What do you think the first round is? Linebacker? Do they need one of those? How about a corner or safety who won't actually play safety? You got to start thinking about what the rest of the league looks like. And until you do that and until you adapt, you're never going to be able to compete because they're miles ahead of you right now. Teams that weren't even projected to make the playoffs are miles ahead of you. And until you figure that out, and that starts at the top with the ownership, until you figure that out, you're going to be left in the middle because you have guys that are good enough to win 9 games, but not good enough to do anything more than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk myself into it. It wouldn't be the worst hire in the world. I mean, he is a winner, offensive-minded, but I don't know. I mean, maybe they look at New England and say, well, New England brought in a established head coach in Mike Vrabel, but yes, they drafted May, and they had to be in position to draft him. And they had a year of just a futility with Gerard Mayo, and they don't want to go through that. And maybe they're worried if they bring in a Shula or a Weaver or someone like that, it will be a year of futility. But maybe
then fire him and bring in somebody else.
That's
Keep
right.
doing it until you get the right guy.
They don't want to do that. They want to bring in McCarthy and have him coach 10 more years till he's ready to retire. They don't want instability. They don't want chaos.
And do the same thing with a quarterback.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, draft another one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, New England did that. Mac Jones didn't work out, so insert Drake May.
Well, drafting Pickett set them back years, and New England bounced back from their bad quarterback. The Steelers are going to have major trouble bouncing back from their bad quarterback.
But they could have drafted a different one the next year, and they chose not to. They decided to go all in on Pickett. That's what hurt them.
That they were going to fail again.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't drafting Pickett. Well, it wasn't drafting. It was sticking with Pickett after they realized this probably isn't the guy, but they went all in with him instead of getting somebody else.
I'm surprised he's still not there. They never want to admit errors. They finally did.
Now, he might come back.
And then what did they do when they got rid of him? Russ is past his prime. So is Aaron. We'll try it. It didn't work. So
Fields is one-dimensional. Go through everything they've said. You are sold on this guy. And, of course, the fan base is sold on anything they do. And then you turn on them so quickly. Everyone does. The organization does. The fans do. It is what it is. But a stale offense that will get better with McCarthy, but I don't see the team making progress. It's not what they need for the future. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will look at some of the other coaching moves that have happened around the NFL and the 5 finalists for MVP. We'll let you decide who you think should be the most valuable player in the NFL. Nick and I will give you what we think. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Attorney Anthony Estadola Jr., with offices at 51 South Street in the Webster Law Building and serving the legal needs of Fayette County since 1979, extends his best wishes to the teachers, staff, and students at our local Catholic schools as they celebrate Catholic Schools Week.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Catholic schools, the place to be. Learn to read and learn to write. Learn to care and respect life. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. St. John's School's a place for me.
That student announcement was brought to you by Attorney Anthony Estadola Jr., with offices located at 51 South Street in the Webster Law Building.
Okay, my New Year's resolution was to listen to my body, and my body says it's tired, coughing, and hates January.
Sounds like your body wants MontyMed same-day care.
I tried ignoring it. That was resolution number 2.
Let me guess, you Googled it?
Yeah, now I'm scared.
Let's not do that. I'm Kendall Soliero, a provider at Montgomery Medical. Walk in, get real answers, and start feeling better. No appointment needed.
Wow, a resolution I can actually keep.
New year, same germs. Walk into Montgomery Medical today.
Ready to score big on your next home? Well, great news. Huge savings are waiting for you at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. From open floor plans perfect for game day parties to energy-efficient homes that will help you save money all season long, these homes are built to deliver. Don't wait on the sidelines. Make the winning play today and find the home that fits your family and lifestyle. Visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon at 4500 Route 51.
Mountaintop Title and Notary can handle all of your motor vehicle and PennDOT needs, such as titles, plates, renewal, registrations, and all notary needs. Tina Nicholson of Mountaintop Title and Notary can also handle ATV and boat titles, and also does income taxes. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4:30, and appointments can be made for after hours and Saturdays. Mountaintop Title and Notary with a new location at 655 Nelson Road in Farmington, the only place you need to go for all title, notary, and tax work. Call Tina at 724-984-1514 for the most professional services around.
Welcome back to the Sports Voice. So we talked about the Steelers for the entire first segment. Hopefully that's the last week of that, as they're still trying to figure out who their next head coach is going to be. 10 openings in the NFL this offseason, 4 of them already filled. Of course, we talked about last week the New York Giants hiring former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh as their new head coach. Not a bad situation there. Jackson Dart, if Scatabo comes back healthy, if Neighbors comes back healthy, you've got some weapons on offense. Yeah. So I think there's talk that Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator from Baltimore, is going to join Harbaugh there. Wow. So that could be interesting. Atlanta hires Kevin Stefanski, former Cleveland head coach, another recycle, but I think a good move. I think Stefanski is a great offensive mind. I know Baker Mayfield wasn't real thrilled with the fact that he got hired. Of course, he gave Baker his walking papers in Cleveland because he thought Deshaun Watson was going to be better. But in the end, I think you look at Atlanta, you've got Drake London, you've got Bijan Robinson, you've got Kyle Pitts, you've got weapons there. They got to figure the quarterback thing out. Is Kirk Cousins sticking around? I know he took the reduced contract. That could be because they're going to trade him. It could be because they're going to keep him. Is Michael Penix the answer there? So Atlanta's got some things to figure out. But Stefanski, I think, a good hire. Miami hires Jeff Hafley, the former defensive coordinator of Green Bay. I've not been shy about this as a guy I don't really like. I think Miami's a team going nowhere. They just hired a coach going nowhere. But in the end, Green Bay reminded me of Pittsburgh, an overpaid defense that underperformed. Hafley was the head coach at Boston College, lost total control of the team, got into a situation in a bowl game where all of his quarterbacks refused to play. We'll see. I think it's a tough job to win at. The Dolphins aren't in position to get their quarterback of the future unless you believe that Tua Tagovailoa is their quarterback of the future. And Tennessee hires Robert Saleh. Of course, we know about the abrupt exit in New York when Aaron Rodgers got him fired because he wouldn't let Rodgers call his own plays. Saleh has a legit quarterback in Cam Ward, the first overall pick in the draft last year. He's a defensive guy, but we'll talk about, I'm sure, some of the offense that he will bring to the table because I don't think he's one that tries to control it too much. We look at teams that are still out there with openings. We've got Arizona. There's talk that Chris Shula might potentially be going there. There's also talk that one of these young up-and-coming offensive coordinators, one of the Kubiaks, Mike LaFleur, the younger brother of Matt LaFleur, that one of those guys could be going there. So a lot sort of swirling around. Baltimore and Buffalo to me are the two most desirable jobs. Like I'm sure they're waiting around to see, and I'm sure they want some veteran presence to go into these jobs because you have teams that are ready to win. You've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Josh Allen, former MVPs of the National Football League. I mean, if I'm a head coach, these are the two I'm trying to get. The one I really don't want is Cleveland. I can only imagine what's going to end up there. I feel bad for Jesse Minter because I have a feeling he's going to be there. Ugh. Or the guy from England, that Durde, the defensive coordinator for Seattle. I think one of those because they seem intent on looking defensively for that job. And then the Raiders. I think that's an intriguing job because you've got the first pick in the draft. You've got Mendoza. You've got Ashton Genty, who I think is a stud. Brock Bowers, who I think is a stud. So I'm surprised there hasn't been a lot of movement on that job. And then, well, of course, there's Pittsburgh. So that's what's out there. One name that came out of the mix, Mike McDaniel, the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He, I guess, was given leave by Best Buy to interview, not as a head coach. He had his name taken out of the running for Cleveland, which kind of makes sense. He instead took the job of offensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, and from what I understand, has given Best Buy his 30-day notice, so he should be good to go with having that job. The only guy I've ever seen that looked like a tech guy going in and a drug kingpin going out. He looked like he could have been on the next season of Narcos if they ever made one.
That's brilliant, Dave. That's wonderful. Good luck to him in L.A.
Yeah, a lot of opening. And honestly, I think Pittsburgh, they either go with McCarthy or they take who's left because I can't imagine, looking at these other jobs outside of maybe Cleveland, I can't imagine one that's more undesirable than this Pittsburgh job right now. So a lot of names out there, a lot of the same names who are interviewing in all of these places. I can't imagine they would say, nah, I'm not going to go to Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. I don't see it happening. So I think they're going to get the scraps or they're going to get McCarthy because I don't think anybody's really seriously given him a look. Although they're giving Arthur Smith serious looks. So if they give that guy an opportunity, I guess anybody could legitimately get one. Nick, MVP. They released today the 5 names, the 5 finalists for MVP. And we both know it's down to 2 guys and probably know who the one is going to be. But the names that are out there, 4 quarterbacks, that would be Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford, and Christian McCaffrey. And I think, when you look at these awards, McCaffrey could very easily be Player of the Year. Yeah. I think when you look at what he did and what he brought to San Francisco, but I don't think he's going to be MVP. And I think this is where it really gets tricky because when I think of the most valuable player, it's by far and away Drake May. There's nothing else on that team. I would love to see one of these other guys come in and throw to Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte and Hunter Henry toward the end of his prime. I would love to see that and see if they put up the numbers that May put up. But we know it's going to go to Stafford, who's got 2 legit superstars, Nakua and Adams, as his receivers. He deserves something. 46 touchdowns. Like, look at the numbers. The numbers are there. And he might be Player of the Year, but I don't know if he's MVP. I don't think New England is where they are without May. I think the Rams could be there because they have McVay without Stafford. Maybe you think something differently. Maybe you think the same thing. I agree Stafford's going to get it.
Yeah.
But I think May deserves it.
Yes, I think May's being penalized in New England, by the way, on strength of schedule, and it was really weak, and now they seem to be getting breaks in the AFC because the Chargers looked awful and Houston fell apart, and now they get to face Stidham, so their path looks really easy in the playoffs, but you still have to win those games. But when it comes to MVP, I think they'll give it to Stafford. It's probably a career achievement award, as he's, 15 years older than May. They want to give him one. And that's fine, but you're right. He has a better coach, as good as Vrabel is. McVay's better. He has better weapons by far. 2 future Hall of Fame level receivers in Adams and Nakua, and really good tight ends, really good running game. And May has some help, but nothing like that. So, yeah, I mean, I could easily, Offensive Player of the Year might be McCaffrey, but the MVP is always a quarterback. I would give it to May because he's doing more with less, but they're going to give it to Stafford, and I'm not totally upset by it.
No, and I agree with that. And it's hard to believe that Stafford has never won the MVP because he's had great numbers and great seasons, whether it be in Detroit or whether it be in L.A., but, you can say, well, look, he has Atwell and Whittington and the kid from Pitt, Mumfield. He doesn't throw to him. No. He throws to 2 guys and 3 tight ends.
Right.
I mean, and he has a much better running game as well and a better line in front of him. So I think that, by the way, Kevin Dotson, part of that line.
Yes.
Scrap heap in Pittsburgh, all-pro in L.A. But, I mean, I get it. 46 touchdowns, you can't ignore it. The numbers are there. The stats are there. It's just what you consider valuable to mean. We'll get that announcement before the Super Bowl. Congratulations to all 5, all very deserving of the award. But I agree. I believe it will be Stafford. That's all the time we have for the first hour of the Sports Voice. When we come back for hour 2, it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. The Penguins playing Edmonton on the road in Edmonton. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk NFL playoffs. We'll talk college football national championship. And, of course, the NBA/WNBA roundup from Nick Barczyk. So, if anything, make sure you come back for that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Feeling lucky? Your next big jackpot is waiting for you. Visit the casino at Nemacolin in Farmington, PA for the ultimate casino experience featuring the hottest table games, daily promotions, big-time giveaways, and an exciting variety of premium slots. And after, celebrate your big win with a juicy burger at the Royale while you watch the big game. Hotel packages available. Visit CasinoNemacolin.com for more information. The Casino at Nemacolin. Game on. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Route 21 Furniture. Take the road to your perfect home.
Sleep well tonight. Try out a new mattress from Route 21 Furniture with a large selection of mattresses, all sizes and comfort levels, with great prices, free local delivery and setup, and financing options. Route 21 Furniture. Open weekdays 9 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, Sunday noon to 4. 724-737-2222 or Route21Furniture.com.
Route 21 Furniture. Take the road to your perfect home.
Your local station, WNBS Uniontown. It's 5 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Duke's Mayo.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Grocery and hardware stores have been busy as a dangerous storm takes aim at the eastern 2/3 of the country. CBS's Cammie McCormick.
States are preparing from Texas to Boston. New York's Governor Kathy Hochul.
All across the state, New Yorkers are at risk of an extreme weather event, the likes of which we have not seen in many years.
And Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger.
Virginia will experience dangerously low temperatures, power outages, and unpredictable road conditions.
The storm is expected to start Friday in New Mexico and Texas and move east through the south, then up to New England. 140 million people are under watches or warnings, in many places, both.
In his first public testimony to Congress, former special counsel Jack Smith defends his handling of investigations into President Trump on classified documents and attempts to reverse the outcome of the 2020 election. Wisconsin GOP Congressman Scott Fitzgerald asked Smith whether he got the job of special counsel because of his friendship with Marshall Miller, Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General, during the Biden administration.
Mr. Miller wanted you in that position not because you're necessarily the best lawyer he ever met, but because of the long-term friendship that you have with him.
What I can tell you is I have been a prosecutor for 30 years. I have been an apolitical public servant for 30 years. I've prosecuted cases against Democrats and Republicans, all the same.
Vice President J.D. Vance stops in Minneapolis and blames state and local officials for the chaos surrounding ICE actions in the city.
There are a lot of things that all of us could do better to lower the temperature, but the number one thing that I learned today is that the best way to facilitate reasonable enforcement of the law, but also to lower the chaos in Minneapolis, would be for state and local officials to cooperate.
As part of a plea deal, former Des Moines, Iowa school superintendent Ian Roberts has pleaded guilty in federal court to falsely claiming U.S. citizenship and illegally possessing firearms. Roberts is originally from Guyana and was arrested by federal immigration agents in September. They found a loaded gun and cash in his vehicle. President Trump at the World Economic Forum in Davos has met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The hour-long meeting between the two focused on bringing an end to the war with Ukraine and Russia. President Trump saying afterwards the meeting was productive.
We hope it's going to end. A lot of people being killed. Last month they had 30,000 people killed, 30,000 mostly soldiers. And it's really a war that has to end.
U.S. stocks regain more of their losses for the week. The Dow jumps 307 points. The Nasdaq closed up 211. The S&P 500 rose 38 points. This is CBS News.
Welcome to Duke's Mayo Country, where the mayo is so smooth and creamy, it makes every bite better. Duke's Mayo. Look for the yellow lid.
Take the fact book.
Caring for an aging parent or a loved one with medical needs? FACT, Fayette Area Coordinated Transportation, can help. Seniors 65 and older ride free on our fixed routes. People with disabilities get discounted shared rides. And if your loved one has medical assistance, their trips to doctors or treatment are covered under the shared ride program. Give them safe, reliable independence and yourself peace of mind. Call 724-628-RIDE or visit factbus.com. FACT, your community, your connection.
It's a new day at WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital, and we're bringing a new level of quality healthcare to our community. From primary care to specialty services, our team has always put patients first. And now, thanks to our merger with WVU Medicine, our commitment to patient-centered care has grown even stronger. With new resources, a growing staff, and advanced technology, our team is here to provide you with top-quality care when it matters most. Discover the new Uniontown Hospital and see how we've grown.
A health update from an ailing rock star.
Phil Collins tells the BBC's Eras podcast he now has a 24-hour live-in nurse to make sure he takes his medication and help him get around on crutches after 5 knee surgeries. The 74-year-old says he's 2 years sober after developing kidney issues when he was hospitalized with COVID. Collins stopped playing the drums in 2022 after Genesis toured for a final time, when his health problems made it difficult for the musician to pick up his sticks. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits inched up last week, but U.S. layoffs remain historically low despite signs of a softening labor market. The Labor Department says U.S. filings for jobless aid for the week ending January 17th rose by 1,000 to 200,000, up from 199,000 the previous week. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS.
I'm Bob. The award-winning local, district, and statewide news is being brought to you by Ultimate Structures, offering customized sheds, cabins, and metal buildings. Ultimate Structures is ready to design what you desire. Call today, 724-415-0020.
And good afternoon, 5:05 on this Thursday. Right now sunny and 37, but we do have some severe weather on the way this weekend. We'll get to that in just a bit. We'll get to the sports as well. And good afternoon, I'm Nick Barczyk from the Davis & Davis Studios. Davis & Davis Attorneys at Law, voted Fayette County's Best Law Firm 2025. Your local station, WMBS, sports and weather again on the way. Hundreds of millions of dollars to expand broadband access in Pennsylvania still on hold after federal officials failed to meet their self-imposed early December deadline to review the state's plan for spending the money. Without federal approval, Pennsylvania cannot finalize agreements with the companies that expect to receive the money, and they cannot begin construction. The cause of the delay is not known. A spokesperson for the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, the federal agency responsible for approving the plan, declined to comment on the delay. Pennsylvania submitted its plan September 4th. The federal government promised to review state plans within 90 days, but more than 120 days later, the Commonwealth is still waiting. Dozens of workers are being let go of the Nemacolin Resort in Fayette County. Local outlets report the total number of people laid off this week is around 150, according to employees. A spokesperson for the vacation spot has confirmed the job cuts, saying staffing is being realigned to reflect changes in business needs. Nemacolin is one of the largest employers in Fayette County. First-time filings for unemployment are dropping around Pennsylvania. The U.S. Labor Department says for the week ending January 17th, there are more than 14,000 first-time claims in the state. The number is down by nearly 5,000 compared to the week before. Nationally, there was an increase in the number of initial filings for the week. As the winter storm gets close, officials around southwest Pennsylvania are asking residents to be smart when using alternative heating methods in the event of power outages. Generators are often used during power outages, which can be deadly if not used correctly. Always have carbon monoxide detectors present when using a generator. Keep generators outdoors and at least 20 feet from structures, and never leave them running while sleeping. Closing off unused rooms and using towels to block drafts can help keep heat inside. Residents are also encouraged to check on vulnerable neighbors like the elderly during extreme cold and snow. And water and sewer rates for Municipal Authority of Westmoreland County customers will remain unchanged for at least the next year. Authority board members this week approved a nearly $130 million budget for the multi-county agency that keeps its current rate structure in effect after 2 straight years of increases. The new fiscal year starts April 1st. MAWC has more than 123,000 water customers in 5 counties, among them Fayette, Allegheny, and Westmoreland. More next on WMBS.
Hey everyone, this is Josh Krysak here letting you know that it's not too late to purchase a shed, carport, or building due to the cold weather that's upon us. Ron from Ultimate Structures will explain.
Here at Ultimate Structures, we go full-time, year-round to service our customers. Don't let the cold weather discourage you from purchasing the storage building for your needs. Our manufacturers and installation crews keep chugging through the cold weather. There may be minor delays due to snow and ice, but you can be assured every attempt will be made to get your building up and ready to protect your valuables.
That is great news to hear, Ron. Our listeners can still purchase a shed, carport, garage, or building to fit their needs.
Customers can call me anytime to discuss their needs at 724-557-3281. That's 724-557-3281. We can sit down and design what you desire. Come out to our mega lot to view models to fulfill your dreams. We are Ultimate Structures, satisfying Fayette County customers since 2007.
Heart disease is still the number 1 cause of death in the U.S., but fewer people are dying from it.
That's according to a new report from the American Heart Association. The report shows heart disease death rates have dropped for the first time in 5 years. They decreased by more than 2.5% from 2022 to 2023. Deaths involving blocked coronary arteries also went down by nearly 6% in that time frame. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
In sports, high school basketball tonight, girls action, Sprouse Insurance Group pregame at 6:15, game at 7, on the radio and video on YouTube, Bishop Canavan at Geibel, girls action this evening after that. Hockey from Edmonton, Penguins winning last night over the Flames 4-1, they're at the Oilers tonight at 9 on WMBS, and we have the AFC Championship game for you on Sunday, the Patriots and the Broncos at 3, the NFC game at 6:30, Rams at Seahawks. And the Steelers are still interviewing candidates. They interviewed former Packer and Cowboy head coach Mike McCarthy for their head coaching vacancy yesterday.
The local district and statewide news was brought to you by Ultimate Structures, just outside of Perryopolis on Route 51 southbound. Call them today at 724-415-0020 to find the shed, cabin, or metal building that meets your needs.
This weather report being brought to you by Montgomery Medical. Trust their 50 years of combined experience for the best results in primary care, newborns to elderly, minor illness or injury, as well as wellness and physical exams. And now the weather.
Right now at 37 with the overnight low down at 22 degrees, 29 Friday under clouds and sun. Very cold Friday night, maybe in the negatives in terms of wind chill. The actual temperature at 2 degrees Friday night. Saturday at 16, chance of snow. Then the snow really hits overnight Saturday into Sunday. Winter storm watch for the area from 7 p.m. Saturday through 1 p.m. Monday, with a majority of the snow overnight Saturday and throughout the day Sunday. Again, Uniontown and Fayette County could receive anywhere from 6 to 12 inches, it looks like. 27 on Sunday. Again, the high, low at 14, then drying out a bit Monday at 18, low down to 4 in the evening. 21 Tuesday, but dry, and chance of flurries Wednesday at 18. But the brunt of the snow again overnight Saturday into Sunday this weekend. Right now, some sun still left, 37 degrees at 5:11 on a Thursday. Good afternoon from the Davis & Davis studios in Uniontown at WMBS. I'm Nick Barczyk. And the Stock Report, then more of the Afternoon Drive Show with Dave Dunaway, the sports voice with Dave Dunaway on WMBS.
This weather report was brought to you by Montgomery Medical, a family tradition of family medicine. Same-day appointments available for acute care. Call 724-569-8100 or visit montymed.com to schedule your appointment.
Good evening. This is Janine Herron of Janney Montgomery Scott here in Uniontown, bringing you today's closing stock market report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 306.8 points, closing at 49,384. The Nasdaq Composite was up 211.2 points, closing at 23,436. And the S&P 500 Index was up 37.7 points, closing at 6,913. Among companies of local interest, Apple closed at $248.35, up 70 cents. Amazon $234.34, up 303. Cisco closed at $74.33, up 64 cents. Boeing $251.41, up $1.34. Caterpillar closed at $648.41, up 303. Disney $113.21, up 2 cents. ExxonMobil closed at $133.64, up 3 cents. First Energy $47.05, down 32 cents. Johnson & Johnson $218.49, up 48 cents. Home Depot $381.03, down $3.61. Intel closed at $54.32, up 7 cents. McDonald's $306.03, up 34 cents. Meta Platforms $647.63, up 34.67. PNC Financial Services closed at $222, down $3.49. Raytheon Technologies $196.34, down $1.16. Rockwell Automation $425.32, up $5.02. Tesla closed at $449.36, up $17.92. Verizon $39.48, up 24 cents. And Walmart closed at $117.83, down $1.53. Recapping, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 306.8 points, closing at 49,384. The Nasdaq Composite was up 211.2 points, closing at 23,436. And the S&P 500 Index was up 37.7 points, closing at 6,913. From the Uniontown office of Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC, where we serve all of your investment needs. This is Janine Harris.
If you're ready for a dental makeover or in need of basic dental care, the office of Dr. Mark Rabatin is right for you. Dr. Rabatin uses the latest advancement in the industry to achieve comprehensive care that will preserve your smile for years to come by providing general dentistry services. Call today to schedule your appointment at their modern office, located in the Fayette Business Park, 724-437-4991, for the fine art of dentistry.
Franco's Golf Center is open during the winter months, Tuesday through Sunday, starting at 11 a.m., closed Monday. With 2 state-of-the-art simulators, Franco's is your destination for indoor golf. The Full Line Pro Shop is also open for your shopping convenience, with gift certificates available. The outdoor range is also open year-round, weather permitting. Call 724-438-6651 to reserve your indoor golf tee times. Franco's is located on Route 21 west of Uniontown. Stop and see them today.
Main Street Theater Company proudly presents Grease on stage at the State Theater January 30th and 31st at 7 p.m. and February 1st at 2. Follow the journey of Danny and Sandy, the Pink Ladies, and the Burger Palace Boys in one of the world's most popular and enduring musicals, with an unforgettable soundtrack featuring hit songs like Greased Lightning, Hopelessly Devoted to You, You're the One That I Want, and more. For tickets, call 724-439-1360 or online at statetheater.info.
The best pizza in town is at Little E's Al Altre, Uniontown's newest restaurant with all the organic crust, classic or gluten-free, all organic sauces, all natural meats and toppings, and a variety of specialty pizzas, including vegan options. More than pizza, Little E's has hearty homemade soups, appetizers, calzones, and strombolis, plus a variety of salads with vegan and gluten-free options. Open Wednesday and Thursday 11 to 9, Friday and Saturday until 9:30. Phone 724-880-6012 or stop in Little E's 7 West South Street across from a parking garage.
Your local station, 590 WMBS. I hear voices in my head.
Welcome to part 2 of the Sports Voice. Ahead on this hour, it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. Well, technically in Edmonton, but the Penguins are playing tonight. It's Crosby versus McDavid again. Who knows what part it is, probably 500 at this point, but it still has that little bit of nostalgia, the old versus the new, even though Crosby looks probably younger than McDavid at this point. And you start to wonder as the years go on, will McDavid ever win that elusive Stanley Cup? Will Canada ever win it again? It's hard to say, but this is always an intriguing matchup because it is the two biggest names in hockey going at it with one another. The Penguins last night defeated the Calgary Flames 4-1. A pretty good game, especially defensively for the Penguins because no Letang and no Carlson. Carlson's been out for a while. Letang's been in and out the last couple of games. But you got to see the other defensemen who are more traditional defensive style defensemen actually come in and play defense. A ton of block shots. Jack St. Ivany, who had most of them, actually was the third star. He picked up 2 assists in that game. I really like Igor Chinakhov. That, to me, might go down as the best trade that was made by Kyle Dubas in his tenure to basically not give up a whole lot and bring in a guy who Malkin loves. He's got him on Malkin's line. He's got 7 goals on the season. I think 5 of those are with Pittsburgh in a very short period of time. He's great on the shootout. He actually scores, which is more than we can say for a lot of the others that go out there and attempt for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And all of a sudden, the Penguins are in second place, tied with the Islanders in the Metropolitan Division. They're 24, 14, and 11, which technically puts them still under 500 at 24 and 25. Those overtime losses, they're just destroying other teams with these overtime losses, most of them happening in a shootout. They've got to figure that out at some point. The Penguins need to decide what they are. Are they a Stanley Cup contender? Are they a playoff team? Are they a team that's not going to make the playoffs? Because the worst thing that can happen to them is they go all in and they just miss. At least if they make it to a series, they get the revenue that comes with that. But without making it to that series, you're stuck in the middle, kind of like the Steelers. And potentially what I hear, there are 8 draft picks this year in the draft that could potentially be top 6 players in the National Hockey League, including Gavin McKenna, who I know isn't exactly tearing it up at Penn State, but here's the reality of what the difference is between playing in the NCAA and playing in juniors. If McKenna was in juniors, he'd probably have 200 points right now. The NCAA is much more difficult. It's a tougher league. It looks more like the NHL. And when he went to Penn State, he said, I'm doing this to get better. I'm not doing this to rack up a ton of stats. He will still be the first pick in the draft, and he will be the best player that comes out of that draft in the National Hockey League. But it doesn't look like he's going to be a Penguin because right now they seem to have decided they're going for the playoffs. They're going all in, probably the last year with Crosby, Letang, and Malkin all together. You've got Rust, you've got Raquel, you've got Carlson, you've got them linked to numerous trades all over the NHL, ranging from anything between Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, of Connor Garland from the Vancouver Canucks. And there are all sorts of names being thrown around as potential that the Penguins could try to go out there and acquire. When you start to see that, you start to realize this is a team that's committed. I don't know. They've gotten a lot of veterans on this team, and if you're going for the playoffs, that's what you got to do. So I'm not even going to sit and complain. I can talk about how the progress isn't going to be there. But if this is your last attempt, if this is your shot to go all in, then I guess you're doing what you need to do as far as the personnel. The one thing I would do if I was the Penguins, if this is their decision, if they've decided, yes, we're a playoff team and we're going to go for it, then call Sergei Morozov up because that's your best goaltender and that's your only hope of actually going to the playoffs and winning when you get there. You're not going to do it with Shilovs. He's got to figure something out. He's still young. He's 24 years old. Send him to Wilkes. Let him try to work through the issues that he has. He looks decent throughout the game, struggles in overtime in the shootout, and he gives up a bad goal, it seems like, every single game. Stuart Skinner, I think, is a good backup. He played well last night. Only 18 saves, though. The defense played better, and he did acknowledge that in the post-game press conference. I think Skinner at this point in his career is a good backup. Murashov's got to be your guy. If this is what you want, if this is what you're going to do, then make that decision to do this change. Get him up there, ride him through whatever you need to in this regular season and the postseason. If you're all in, you're keeping Russ, you're keeping Raquel, you're figuring out a way to maybe add one more forward to the mix before the trade deadline. I'm not sold either way. To me, they're still iffy. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is legit. I don't know. They've looked more legit and failed in recent time. I know Sullivan's not there anymore, and I wonder if Muse is actually running this team or somebody else behind the scenes is doing it. But, in the end, they're in a good position right now. If this is what they want, I'm all for it. I'll sit there and root for them and hope that they're able to pull this off. But there's something inside of me that just keeps saying that the team as assembled right now is not a team that can really make a lot of noise, even if they do make the postseason. This will be I think tonight's game will tell the tale. You don't have Draisaitl. He's over in Germany on a personal reason. He's been there all week. But you have McDavid. Tristan Jarry going to be in net for Edmonton tonight. Has not looked good since he's returned. He's lost 2 of 3 games since coming back from his injury. And we know all about Jarry and his injuries and how poorly he plays after. This is a big game for the Penguins. I think that if they want to be taken seriously, this is one they have to win. They have to show that they can go up against the NHL perennial superstar in Connor McDavid, and regardless of Crosby's age, show that, once again, Crosby is better, and the supporting personnel around him is as well. It should be an interesting game. It's a late one. Doesn't start till 9 o'clock. So for people like me who are old and tired, that's going to be past my bedtime. But for others of you younger guys like Nick, who can stay up and watch these 9 o'clock games, should be a good one, should be a fun one, and hopefully we'll see a big win for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, shouldn't Crosby be motivation to you, Dave? He's not old and tired, even though he's pushing 40 at this point. Looks amazing, like I always say every week.
Pushing 40, but he's not pushing 50.
No, that's true. Well, hey, you look good. But
yeah.
no, like I say, he never ages. LeBron, Brady never age. Some athletes are just in prime conditioning, and we give him all the credit for that. But yeah, the Penguins... Yeah, you're right. You spelled it out. You're a big fan of the sport and of the team, and you're not even sure where they are. So they have to decide if they're all in. Now, they're not a team ready to win a cup this year, but can they make the playoffs? Sure. Now, winning a series, it's like the Steelers. I think their goal is just to win a first-round series now.
Yeah, you're not building anything from this. It is what it is.
Yeah, right. It's one last gasp with the core. And
it's a nostalgia act.
Yeah, but with a new coach, new goalie, so there's some newness there. But yeah, they can make a little bit of a run, I think, and by that I mean win a series, maybe 2, but to win a cup, not this year.
I remember years ago they talked to, I don't think it was Lemieux, it might have been one of the execs on the Penguins, and they asked them, to make money in the NHL, what do you have to do? And what they said was you have to make it to the first round of the playoffs. When they do their budget at the beginning of the year, pretty much every team budgets it as to the fact that they'll have a few playoff games, which means you'll have some home games there, which you can charge a little more for the ticket price. And that's how you make it work. And when you look at the Penguins the last couple of years, they didn't make the playoffs. And I know they won a couple of Stanley Cups a decade ago, but that's what you hope for. That's what you strive for in the National Hockey League. It's not like football. It's not like baseball or basketball where the money just comes to you. In this sport, more so than any, they have a terrible TV deal with ESPN and TNT. ESPN puts them on a streaming service. TNT puts them on whenever there's no bigger movie to show instead. You've got the local contract, and you've got the gate, and that's really where it comes from. It comes from the gate. You've got to get people there. Their attendance has been poor all year. They kept this core together to try to hope that people would come and want to watch them, and now they're selling it as, hey, this might be the last time you see these guys together. And if they're able to make a playoff run out of this, that's icing on the cake, because if they get into that first round, and who knows, maybe they do something where they win that first round. They have the talent to do it. I think they need I think they need Murashov up there. I really do. I think a lot of people can look and say, well, he's a rookie. Why would you put him in the middle of this? Because he's better than the other two. And I think if you actually want to sell it, that you have a legit chance to win if you make the playoffs, then you need your best goaltender in there. Because when you look at the playoffs, it usually revolves around goaltending. That's why the Penguins didn't win more Stanley Cups through the glory years of these three guys, because they had a subpar goaltender who everyone overinflates and acts like is a Hall of Famer. But if they would have had, a Brodeur or a Waugh or a Vasilevsky or someone like that, who knows how many cups they could have won with Crosby and Malkin and Letang in their prime. They won a couple a decade ago with them a little bit beyond their prime, with Matt Murray, by the way, as the goaltender for both of those. So when you look at it, you need either a hot goaltender or a really good goaltender. And I think at this point, looking at these two splitting time right now, you don't really have the potential to get a hot goaltender. So why don't you bring the best one up that you have? Bring up Marshov. Let him ride this out. It'll be great experience for him. I'm not saying you need to do it right this second, but if you get closer to this and you think, yeah, we're a playoff team, we're going all in for this, then get him up here and let him play. Let Skinner be the backup or rotate them, whatever. But Shilovs isn't equipped for this, not this kind of run. Let him learn a little bit more in Wilkes, and let's go with what we think could potentially be the best. And, now we're talking trades, and, Jason Robertson's name keeps coming up. That's intriguing. That's so intriguing, especially if the Penguins could ink this guy long-term. He's young. He's a star in the league. It will take a lot to get him, but they have a lot. They have all these picks. I mean, at this point, why not? If you can start to build for the future, and I think that's a build for the future. I'm not like a Josh Anderson, Garland. Like, I don't want those. Those guys are, I think, getting to the point where they're beyond their prime. Don't bring in the rentals. And Robertson might look like a rental because his contract's up at the end of the year, but you're in the driver's seat to sign him if you trade for him. I think it's going to take probably 7-8 years and double-digit millions, but who cares? Especially if Malkin comes off the books at the end of the year. Make a splash. Dubas talks about doing it. Let's actually do it. Let's bring in someone young that is ready for the future, but can also help this team win right now. I would love to see that happen if there's even a remote possibility, or if there's someone else. Elias Pettersson is another name getting dangled around by Vancouver. I would take him. I think that's a huge help, especially to play center on the second line. So there are people out there if this is what they want to do, but I think they're going to need a little bit of time to figure out whether or not this is a team that can potentially get to the Stanley Cup. But hey, they're right now in second place in the Metro. It's a good place to be. And we'll see if they can make that a little bit better, get a little more breathing room after tonight. Pens at Oilers, 9:00 in Edmonton. Tristan Jarry in net for the Penguins. It's so hard to say he's on another team. Tristan Jarry in net for Edmonton, Artur Shilovs in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I thought maybe they'd go with Skinner, but since Skinner played last night, it looks like they're going to keep the rotation and go with Shilovs in that one. Crosby versus McDavid. Major League Baseball news, Nick. I didn't hear of anyone the Pirates almost signed this week, but I did hear something that was very disturbing to me. So let me make sure I have this correct. This has nothing to do with the Pirates.
Oh, well, then
Pete Rose
turning off.
is not in the Hall of Fame because he bet on baseball.
Yeah.
Shoeless Joe Jackson is not in the Hall of Fame because we think he might have taken money, although his stats didn't really show that he did, but we believe that it happened. Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame because we think he took steroids, even though we could never prove it, and everybody hates him who votes. Roger Clemens is not in the Hall of Fame because we think he took steroids because he tested positive on one of those pre-tests before they actually started doing it. But yet, Carlos Beltran, who is the name that was named in the cheating scandal for the Astros, is in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand. It's all cheating on baseball, regardless of how you say it. But the one we actually proved, the one that we know, because it was admitted, this guy gets into the Hall of Fame this year. And the others, who are much better players, by the way, are not. The integrity that Major League Baseball thinks it has with this Hall of Fame is such a sham and such a joke that they would put this guy in. And I'm sure Altuve will be there one day, and everybody else that was banging garbage cans in the dugout will be there. But Beltran's name came up. It was reported. It was named. It was the only one named because the others all just they feigned ignorance. We don't know. We didn't hear anything. Yeah, okay. But this guy was named for banging the cans. And here he is this year, inducted into the Hall of Fame with Barry Bonds' second-in-command, Jeff Kent, and Andrew Jones, who I think is a stretch for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You've got some of the best players in the history of baseball that are on the outside looking in because of allegations, and the one you can prove is actually in there. Wait till A-Rod gets in, because I'm sure that's coming too, because he's on TV.
Yeah, I mean, he should be in. And Beltran, I think, is a reach, as is Andrew Jones. These classes get weaker and weaker because guys who we can't prove cheated and who we don't like don't get in. I mean, the slam dunk guys that should be in are not.
But
Rose,
we proved
Vaughn.
Beltran cheated.
Exactly, but it wasn't. But I guess it was an acceptable method of cheating. It wasn't gambling or steroids, so okay. Yeah, I don't get it. There's no rhyme or reason to it. The sports writers seem to pick just who they like and who they feel like voting for in the moment without looking at the actual stats. And again, if they want to put Beltran in and put on his plaque that he cheated and was caught in the scandal, that's one thing, but they're not going to do that. So yeah, I've the Hall of Fame voting and the Hall of Fame in general in all these sports, it leaves a lot to be desired, especially baseball. Who knows what they're doing, Dave?
So you wait till Pete Rose dies, and then you decide you'll put him in, which I understand Major League Baseball doing that, but I would have loved to have seen his speech if he were still alive, and they wanted to avoid that at all costs. Joe Jackson, long gone, and this happened years ago, and nothing to show for it, but yet this guy does it legit right in front of everybody. And there he is. Like Bonds, I think he's out of consideration now because he hasn't gotten enough votes for so many years. And Clemens is the same way. Schilling's not in because they don't like his politics. I mean, it's just ridiculous when you look at guys who should be there. And now we're getting an even longer list of guys that probably shouldn't, that are fringe guys that are getting in because you won't put the people who actually should be in there. To me, that Hall of Fame is a bigger joke than any other one in any other sport. And I mean, I liked Andrew Jones. He was one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
I don't think of Andrew Jones as a Hall of Famer. I think of him like I think of Harold Baines and Lee Smith and all of the others that have been criticized for getting in. I don't think Jeff Kent's a Hall of Famer.
No.
I think Jeff Kent was a really good player,
Right.
but he's not a Hall of Fame player.
No.
Especially when Bonds isn't in, and most of Kent's stats were picked up because they would intentionally walk Bonds to get to him.
Right. There's no nuance here. And yeah, I mean, you need to look at the numbers and just go, no matter what happened, alleged cheating or even proven cheating, these guys were the best players. And can you tell the story of the game without them? I think you can tell it without both these guys, Beltran and Jones, who are, again, fun players.
Well, you can't tell it without Beltran because when you talk about the Astros cheating to
That's
win
true,
World Series,
that's true.
his name's the first one that comes up.
Very true. Yeah, it's just, how about a cheater's wing? Proven or allegedly cheated. Put that on there. But if you're going to have a museum about baseball, you have to put the guys in who really matter to baseball, and guys who clearly did and changed the game and were awesome players are not in because of cheating, allegedly or otherwise, or we just don't like them. They were mean to us.
Right.
Okay, whatever.
And you could say what you want about Barry Bonds. Do we all believe he was on steroids? Yeah, but Major League Baseball never proved it. Why not? Because they didn't want to.
Yeah, they
because he
promoted
was
his chase.
carrying the game at that point, just like McGuire and Sosa, and they looked the other way purposely to make sure that they could continue to rake in money. Well, if you're going to do that, then you can't justify keeping these people out of the Hall of Fame because Bonds deserves to be there. You can call him the home run champion or not call him the home run champion, but he's got the stats to back him up. And if you do want to say he was on steroids, then you knew it, and you just let it go. So that's on you, Major League Baseball. Put him in, especially if you're going to put Carlos Beltran in or anyone else from that Astros team, because I guarantee there will be more that make that Hall of Fame before the end is come for that particular team getting in there. And that actually made Dave Roberts look bad because Roberts would have won a World Series that year.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's won a lot recently.
And then Boston cheated on the Dodgers right after that, doing the same thing.
Well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, Dave. But yeah,
right,
just
because
have
who
some
was the guy?
consistency.
Abreu, whoever the guy was that came from the Astros and went there, started doing it.
Right. Craziness. Yeah. Try to figure out baseball in the Hall of Fame. You'll go crazy.
A lot of signings this week in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
especially
Tucker to the Dodgers.
Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers. So that, and honestly, I think that's a great move. Now, I'm talking from someone who follows the Dodgers, but I look at the Dodgers lineup, and obviously they won a World Series last year. So you think to yourself, well, what do they really need to solidify that? They need Kyle Tucker. Like, they need a power guy in the outfield to, add into Ohtani and Betts. And the top of the lineup is stacked. The bottom of the lineup, not so much. We know they have a great pitching staff and pitching rotation, and he was out there to be had. And for everybody complaining, hey, everybody has money. Whether you want to cry poor or not, we all know you have money. Baltimore just paid for Pete Alonso. Everybody has money. You could have gone out and signed Kyle Tucker, but you chose not to. Whether I'm talking to Bob Nutting or the Mets or the Yankees or whoever, you all could have done it. You decided not to do it. The Dodgers did it. I give them credit. They went out and made their team better. The Mets, they've been busy. Bo Bichette. These are all guys that were rumored to the Pirates at one point. Bo Bichette there, Louis Robert they traded for, Peralta from the Brewers they traded for last night. And the Mets got rid of a ton of prospects to make this happen. But that's the difference between telling your fans, hey, we want to win now, and actually trying to do it, or saying, oh yeah, we want to be competitive, and then going out and signing Ryan O'Hearn and trading for Brandon Lau, who's on an expiring contract and will probably be off your team in July. The Pirates, they want to pretend like they want to contend, but in the end, they don't really want to contend. They just want to keep raking the money in, and they do it because Major League Baseball has a system set up where that can actually occur. And even when they make trades, they don't make good trades. The Washington Nationals traded Mackenzie Gore this afternoon and got 5 people back from Texas, including their first-round pick this past year, Gavin Fine. The Pirates don't ever make trades like that. Oh, they'll trade somebody, and they'll get people back, but they'll all be 23, 24, and 25 years old. They don't want these young guys because you got to invest in them. You got to pay for them. And they don't want to do that, not for the long term. It's hard enough for them to swallow the fact they got to do it with the guys they actually draft themselves. But hey, don't worry. Connor Griffin will be up this year. Yeah, probably in July, but I'm sure he'll be up this year. So if they're really committed to win, Griffin's better than anything else they're going to put in that outfield. Why not have him up on day one? Because that costs money, and it costs control and years and all of those other things that they love to talk about. So they can try to fool you all they want. I'm sure a bunch of you out there, they probably have fooled. But in the end, you're not going to see a whole lot different this year than what you've seen in the past. A more competent manager. You've not upgraded the catching position at all. You're still going to have O'Neill Cruz out there trying to learn on the fly how to actually play the game of baseball, because clearly no matter what you tell him, he doesn't understand. And you'll have a pitching staff that will probably be really good. I think the bullpen probably better than what it was last year. But in the end, will you be able to produce enough offense for the days where the pitching just doesn't have it? And I'm not sure that they've done that. They've added a little more power, I'll give them that, but I don't know if they've added any more consistency. But in the end, the good teams keep getting better because they're not afraid to spend, and the bad teams keep complaining because they don't want to spend.
Right. I mean, if you have a salary cap, there'd be a floor, so no hope for the Pirates fans there. I mean, yeah, the Yankees, Dodgers, yes, they have more money and resources, but they're really, really well run, especially the Dodgers right now. It's not a fluke. They keep winning. Other teams can spend money on players, and they're not winning the World Series. The Yankees, the Cubs, the Mets. So good for the Dodgers. They have Tucker, Bellinger to the Yankees, and Mackenzie Gore to the Rangers. So a lot of things happening as the baseball offseason heats up. Yeah,
a lot of
he's
things
back
happening.
To the Yanks. And we're just a few months away, Dave, of pitchers and catchers and the Pirates. I don't know, man. I mean, O'Hearn and Lau, that's a pennant right there, those acquisitions.
Well, they'll be selling the pitchers because Seth Hernandez will be there. He'll get his invite to spring training. He'll be there for about a week until they option him back to minor league camp. Hunter Barco, they're trying to sell you on him. He's 24 years old, but his big arm, that's what they love to say. Of course, Bubba Chandler, we know about the potential of Jared Jones coming back a little early from injury. And, of course, Mitch Keller and the whole franchise, Paul Skeens. Yeah. So it's nice that they actually do have pretty good pitching. Even the pen. Like, I think that, yeah, you've got some waiver guys like Santana and Matson that you're hoping are going to continue, Justin Lawrence. But I think there's potential where they can shut people down. It's a lot better than throwing Holderman and Bednar and these guys that just implode and throwing them out there. So I'll be curious to see what the pitching does. But I think there are just too many holes on that field. And I think the biggest hole is actually playing O'Neill Cruz because he's a liability every time he steps foot out there. And I think that's going to end up costing you more than it's going to help you, because if you're batting barely over 200 and hitting 10 home runs, it's just not worth it. O'Hearn, I'm assuming he'll DH. Lau will be good. I don't know what they'll do with Gonzalez if they play Lau at second. Of course, they got to get Triolo in, their buddy. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But in the end, what they won't do is compete. How are they going to compete with the Cubs? Like, it's just not going to happen. And then you start looking, the Cardinals got younger. They've gotten a little bit better. The Brewers, I don't care if they traded Peralta or not. They got a stacked lineup. Like, the division, and the Reds are good. So I think, you're not doing enough to compete even within your own division, let alone to be able to do it to try to make the playoffs. Nick, before we go to break, college football has a new national champion, and when I say new, I mean new, because it's the first time in the history of the school they've ever won it. The Indiana Hoosiers and local product Curt Cignetti.
Coach Curt.
Your national champions. Nick, in our picks, picked Miami, and Indiana did not cover. And you're right. If Beck throws a better pass, Miami might be the national champion right now. What a huge surprise for them to even get there in a conference that they did not win. The winner of the conference did not get into these playoffs. Nope. It's just a strange story. And, of course, all the controversy with Notre Dame, who thought they should have gotten the spot that Miami got. But there's Miami playing for the championship and almost winning.
Yes, really good for Indiana. Congratulations. They've never won a football title, and they don't just eke it out. I mean, that game they did, but 16-0, that's majorly impressive with Coach Cignetti and Mendoza, who's going to the Raiders with the draft in Pittsburgh in a few months. But they're just loaded. The big catches Becker made, the running game of Black. They're a great college football team, one of the best we've seen. But Miami belonged on that field. That was the toughest test Indiana's had maybe all year, certainly in the playoffs. So good for Miami and Beck and Cristobal. They're a great program. Glad they're back. But this was Indiana's year. Mendoza's fourth down run that capped the great season they've had. Good for Indiana. They're a college football power, and who would have thought that? I mean, Alabama and Georgia are old news. It's about Indiana. The Big Ten is now better than the SEC by far.
How about that? And a really good recruiting class. The transfer portal, they took advantage of that. Josh Hoover, former TCU quarterback, going to be the quarterback at Indiana next year. Could this be a dynasty?
Could be. It gives hope to other programs that traditionally weren't winning because of this NIL money, the transfer portal. Again, the Big Ten is just dominant right now. The SEC's time has come and gone. I think Indiana can make a run at back-to-back, absolutely.
Well, there's some big-time donors at Indiana, including a local product who you would think would be giving money to Pitt, but instead...
Well, he did go to Indiana.
I know he went to Indiana.
And
but he talks a lot about how much he wants to give to the area, but doesn't really give anything to the area.
Said he would buy the Pirates Den. Couldn't even save that hot dog restaurant.
I know.
Said he wanted to save.
Talks a good game, but the follow-through isn't there. But he does funnel a lot of money into Indiana.
And he doesn't own the Mavericks anymore, right?
No.
Yeah, whatever. Good for Mr. Cuban.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back for our final segment of the show, we're back to the NFL. Yes, the NFL playoffs, the AFC and NFC championship games this Sunday. We'll talk about the Final Four, look a little bit at what happened last week in the divisional rounds, make our picks of the week. Only 2 of them this week. I still have a chance to get out of last place. In there by 1, Matt Sapienza, Brian Morozak, both 1 game ahead of me. So if I do this right between these 2 games of the Super Bowl, maybe I have a chance to escape the cellar. And then, of course, Nick going to do his NBA and WNBA roundup. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
For professional cleaning services, Clean & Shine in New Stanton is the place for you. They provide commercial and residential cleaning, porter services, carpet cleaning, stripping and waxing, construction cleanups, and car cleaning. For free estimates, call 724-691-0413, email info@cleanandshine14.org, or visit their website, cleanandshine14.org. We clean so you can shine.
Hey, you looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle? Well, look no more, because with over 200 vehicles, Gary's Auto Sales is the largest used car dealer in the area. Whether you want a car, a truck, or an SUV, you'll absolutely find what you're looking for at Gary's. Gary's has been in business since 1974. You can visit them online at Gary'sAutoSales.com, or you can give them a call at 724-626-8080. Gary's Auto Sales. Many miles, many smiles.
Franco's Golf Center is open during the winter months, Tuesday through Sunday, starting at 11 a.m., closed Monday. With 2 state-of-the-art simulators, Franco's is your destination for indoor golf. The Full Line Pro Shop is also open for your shopping convenience with gift certificates available. The outdoor range is also open year-round, weather permitting. Call 724-438-6651 to reserve your indoor golf tee times. Franco's is located on Route 21 west of Uniontown. Stop and see them today.
If you're ready for a dental makeover or in need of basic dental care, the office of Dr. Mark Rabatin is right for you. Dr. Rabatin uses the latest advancement in the industry to achieve comprehensive care that will preserve your smile for years to come by providing general dentistry services. Call today to schedule your appointment at their modern office, located in the Fayette Business Park, 724-437-4991, for the fine art of dentistry.
When you are looking to make some extra cash for your aluminum cans, visit Cherokee Recycling, where aluminum can is king. Cherokee Recycling is open Monday through Friday 9 to 4:30 and Saturdays 8 to 12 noon, closed Sundays and holidays. Give Marcus or Braggs a call today, 724-439-3228 for Cherokee Recycling, where recycling makes the most sense.
Welcome back to the Sports Voice. Of course, we are finishing where we started with the National Football League. A little bit of breaking news if you have not heard. The Baltimore Ravens have hired their head coach. Yes, Jesse Minter, the former defensive coordinator of the LA Chargers, has agreed to be the new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we know he's a defensive guy, so I assume there's going to be a strategic offensive coordinator that Lamar Jackson probably picks himself that is going to come in to that position. But if you've not yet heard, Jesse Minter, the brand new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, I think it's a good hire. It's who I was saying right off the bat for the Steelers I thought might be the best fit there. And also added to the mix, Chris Shula, another name in huge demand, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, has become the second person in 3 days to turn down the head coaching job of the Cleveland Browns. So good luck, Cleveland. Good luck finding someone for that.
Good luck, Shadur. Good luck, Browns. You're right. So, yeah, the Chargers get McDaniel, the IT guy, but they lose Minter. So there you go.
Minter's interesting, Nick. I would have thought the Ravens would have gone for a guy like McCarthy. Like that would have made more, like a veteran guy. Because you've got a veteran team. Like, you're ready to win.
Well, they just got rid of a veteran guy, so they wanted to go younger.
Yeah, but they got rid of a veteran guy who'd been there forever.
That's right.
You bring in, and McCarthy's more offense-oriented than John Harbaugh was,
too. So the Tomlin-Harbaugh era of Steelers-Ravens is over. It's time for McCarthy Minter. Can't wait.
How about that? Yes.
Good
Should
for
be
Baltimore.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, because everyone in Pittsburgh thinks Chris Shula is going to be the one hired.
I would like
They
that.
think the clubhouse is behind him. I just don't see ownership saying, hey, this is a guy that's going to get us to 9-8 next year.
No.
They're going to want the veteran to do that. They don't care about what the future could hold. They only care about the right now.
We can keep the nickname Mediocre Mike, though. Just change from Tomlin to McCarthy.
That's what it'll be.
Yeah.
It'll be fitting if that's the case. So last week we had the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. It kicked off with a pretty interesting one on Saturday where the Denver Broncos outlast the Buffalo Bills 33-30. A rough day for Josh Allen, a rough day for the officials, some questionable calls. And then the biggest surprise of all, after doing the post-game interview and looking fine, we find out that Bo Nix, the starting quarterback for Denver, actually broke a bone in his ankle and is out for the AFC Championship game, replaced by Jarrett Stidham. What a great turn of events this is for New England, who drafted Stidham in 2019 in potentially the worst draft in the history of that franchise. Only one other player is still currently in the NFL. The first round pick was N'Keal Harry. That should tell you all you need to know. Oh, it got worse. Chase Winovich, the Jefferson Hills Project, he was one of the draft picks. Shawan Williams was the second round. Like, it was bad. Damian Harris was in that draft.
Draft is the moral.
It was bad. But you wonder, can the Broncos, with Jarrett Stidham at the helm, actually win an AFC championship game. Huge disappointment for Buffalo. It got head coach Sean McDermott fired immediately after. A lot of finger pointing on the Keon Coleman draft pick and who actually made it. We saw that in the press conference the other day. And then staying in the AFC, the New England Patriots defeat the Houston Texans. Not quite as ominous of a defense against New England as it was against Pittsburgh. Drake May, I think more so in that game. And it wasn't a great game for him, but he had 3 touchdown passes. That, in my mind, solidified why he should be the MVP. Because once again, if Matt Stafford had to throw to Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas, I'd love to see the numbers he put up. Just and an old over-the-hill Stephon Diggs. But New England and Denver, the matchup, that's the first game on Sunday. Another terrible game, by the way, by Chris Stroud. Although New England took advantage of it, Pittsburgh couldn't.
No, CJ, Stroud struggles. I mean, you can blame the weather, but he was bad in Pittsburgh and it wasn't snowing, so he's regressed.
Yes. So New England and Denver, let's pick it. That's our first game.
The American Football Conference Championship game, Patriots at Broncos.
Patriots by 4.5.
Yeah, with Bo Nix, the Broncos would be favored, I think, by 1 or 2. Without him, right now, it's 4.5 New England. So for all the Bo Nix haters, he's really swinging this line. I know a lot of people don't like him, and Sean Payton's a great coach, but maybe don't call a design rollout that got your quarterback hurt at the end of the game. So they win that game, and now they're home underdogs, and it lines up well for New England. I thought Drake May looked great the other day. Boutte made a great catch. But to help them out. But quarterback-wise, they have the advantage. Head coach-wise, Peyton's a little better, but Vrabel can hold his own. I like New England to win outright by a touchdown here. I think Stidham keeps it close for a while. He's not awful. And Denver's got a great roster, but New England pulls away. Patriots win outright. They'll go to Super Bowl 60.
This is a really tough game to pick. And I think that, when you look at Jarrett Stidham, and obviously people are going to think, well, Dave knows him because he was drafted by New England. He got stuck in a system that was the tail end of a stubborn Bill Belichick regime, and he really was put in a bad spot when he was thrust in there. They had just brought in Cam Newton to take over for Tom Brady. It didn't work out well. Stidham got thrown in and really got thrown to the wolves and ended up getting replaced when Mac Jones was drafted a couple years later. Stidham's bounced around a few places, and I like him. I think that there definitely is potential to be an NFL quarterback, and I think there's huge potential to win this game with Denver and the defense that comes along with them. You look at the running game with Harvey. You look at the receivers with Sutton and Bryant, the draft pick Franklin. There's a lot of potential here for the Denver Broncos. When I look at the New England Patriots, obviously I look at Drake May and I look at what they've done, and a lot of argument over their schedule, and it's been subpar. And well, when you're 4-13, that's what you play. But they won 14 of the games that they played, and I'll give them credit for that. I like Stidham a lot. I like the chances of Denver a lot, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to root for the New England Patriots. So I'm just going to end up picking the New England Patriots in this one. They're favored. I agree with Nick. They wouldn't have been if Knicks was playing, but I don't think much of Knicks anyways. I'm taking the New England Patriots in this one. They're going to the Super Bowl.
Well, he certainly swung the line. I think he's better than you think he is. But yeah, New England will win, I think.
In the NFC, we saw an absolute annihilation by the Seattle Seahawks, the best team in the conference, probably the best team in football right now, over the 49ers. The injuries just caught up with San Francisco. You lose McCaffrey in the game, the backup to Kittle, who was out with an ACL injury. Tongas, he gets hurt during the game. In the end, there was just nobody left for Brock Purdy to toss the ball around to. It caught up to the defense. Seattle, pure domination, but big news for Seattle, they lose Zach Charbonnet for the week, probably for the duration of the playoffs. So definitely something to think about, but a huge win over San Fran. The Rams, in probably the most exciting game of the week, outlast the Bears 20-17. Both teams tried really hard to lose it at the end, but in a wild game, the Rams in overtime win the game, and the Bears hit the end of their road once again ahead of schedule a little bit. So a lot of credit to the Bears. This week in the NFC Championship, Seattle hosts it. They're favored by 2.5. Who comes out of this one? Darnold, Stafford, the potential MVP, Puka, Tutu. What happens in this game, Nick?
Should be a grade 1 third meeting, and these are the two best teams left, I think. For years back in the day, it was Cowboys-Niners was the Super Bowl, then they beat up the AFC. I think that could be the case here. The Rams have Stafford, they have Puka, they have Adams, Hall of Famers left and right, but the Seahawks right now are a better team, and Darnold's just good enough. Even without Charbonnet, they'll run Walker. They have JSN, who's had a phenomenal season. Give me the Seahawks. They're so physical. They're the best team left right now. 2.5 the line. Seattle wins by 3. Patriots-Seahawks is your Super Bowl matchup.
I really like the Rams. I like what Stafford has done. I know he uses his two receivers primarily of Adams and Nakua, but they're phenomenal targets and receivers. They have that mixed running game with both Corum and Kyron Williams, and they have the 3 tight ends that do all kinds of weird stuff out there. McVay is an absolute genius. I didn't realize how young he was until they started throwing out stats and numbers. The guy's not even 40 years old yet and has been in the NFL for a while. They're complete. And you look at the coordinators getting all these job interviews, but I don't think they're going to beat Seattle. When I look at the Seattle Seahawks, I'm not a huge fan of Darnold, but he's done everything he needed to do, even in the playoffs this year, which is where he hit his wall last year. He credits a lot of his success to Sean McVay. And Kyle Shanahan, I'm sure as well, for sort of showing him and teaching him how to play that position. I agree. Walker is just as good as Charbonnet. Jackson Smith and Jigba, probably the best receiver in the NFL. Either him or Puka. You're going to see one of them out there, whichever one you think it is. I'm going with the Seahawks, and I agree with Nick. New England, Seattle, and here's my out there type thing. Seattle, because of no Charbonnet, is going to sign Marshawn Lynch, and on the goal line, they're going to hand him the ball in this version of the Super Bowl. Remember the history these two teams have in the Super Bowl.
That's so nutty and may just work. And Russell Wilson and Malcolm Butler come back, and Brady comes back. How about Belichick and Carroll?
Oh, it could
Does
be
everyone come back?
Everybody comes back. Well, they're all available to come. Well, Belichick's technically still in North Carolina. But
that was a great Super Bowl. I'd run it back.
Yeah.
They're all old now, but sure.
It was phenomenal. It'll always be remembered for Darrell Bevel and the call to throw instead of hand the ball off that probably gave New England the Super Bowl win. But hey, I'll take it because it was a win for New England.
Made Malcolm Butler a star.
I got the same as you, New England and Seattle. Yep. All right, Nick, we've got like a minute. What's happening in the NBA/WNBA?
Oh, well, so much I don't even have time to get to it. Oh, my God. The Knicks are struggling, and that's of note. They're from New York. They've lost 9 of their last 11.
Jalen Brunson, he's really good.
Calling a players-only meeting. So, yeah, they're struggling, and the Lakers, another team people like to follow. Yeah, Luka and LeBron, seems like they put up points every night, thanks to the Water Boys' efforts.
Well, they said the seats are always clean because Bronny wipes them off before everybody sits down, so we know it's good.
I watched the Spurs the other night. Wemby, he's a beast.
Oh, he's good, yeah.
Thunder are really good. They're trying to win back-to-back. So, yeah, it's still relatively early. College basketball I've been watching as well. That's fun.
I haven't seen much of it yet.
No,
I try to watch Penn State, but that's usually depressing.
And Pitt
almost as depressing as watching Pitt.
Yeah. Pitt loses their games, but they're close, so I give them credit. Coach Cable, not the Louisville game last night, losing by 3 to BC. So, yeah, basketball's in full swing.
Penn State loses their games, and they're usually not close. At least you know early on they're going to lose. It's not right down to the wire where you get nervous.
Right.
But I'll start to watch more college basketball, especially as we get closer to March, because as we know, that's the biggest time of the year.
Right.
That's all the time we have for this week's edition of The Sports Voice. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'll talk to you next Thursday, 4:15 to 6.
You may have noticed a new internet company knocking at your door with claims like, "I'm not here